Hello, everybody. My name is Ajiman Jasante Goodman, and on behalf of the Black Advancement Incorporated, I will be interviewing today the County Executive for Frederick, Maryland, Ms. Jessica Fitzwater. But before we get into that, let me tell you what Black Advancement is all about. Black Advancement is a nonprofit organization that seeks to combat problems within the Black community through action and dialogue, this being part of the action process. One of the things that we seek to combat was the lethargy in terms of local political awareness, in terms of Black people being more involved with their local governments and things of that nature, and how that can actually impact their lives much more. So we created a booklet, which you'll probably see if you're watching this on YouTube, that kind of spoke to that and said like what the different positions were and what the responsibilities were, at least from an internet perspective and research perspective, so to speak. But also a part of that solution was for us to get it straight from the source. And we have one of the sources right here today. Joining me is the County Executive again of Frederick, Maryland, Ms. Jessica Fitzwater. How are you today, ma'am?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me this morning. It's really, really looking forward to the conversation.
Hey, it's your pleasure, not mine. Always remember. No, I'm just playing. Let's just get right into it. Okay. Question number one. What is your position and what is its primary function and how are those functions executed?
So I am the Frederick County Executive, and the best way I think to explain what a county executive does is it's sort of like the mayor or the governor of all of Frederick County. So in 2014, the voters of Frederick County elected their first ever county executive and their first ever county council based on a 2012 ballot initiative that created a Frederick County charter. It's called Charter Home Rule, and it's basically like a constitution for Frederick County. And what that does is give us a little bit more local authority over some of the things that we're doing here in Frederick County, and also divides the local government into two branches, an executive and a legislative branch, as people are sort of used to seeing at the state and federal levels. So, as county executive, I am responsible for the administrative side of county government, the day to day operations, and basically implementing and executing any laws or regulations that are passed by the legislative branch. I actually served on the Frederick County Council on the legislative branch for 2 terms for 8 years, also having been elected in 2014 for the first time when we moved to this new form of government. So it's been really exciting for me to now be on the executive side, taking the experiences that I had as a legislator and now working more closely with our fantastic county employees on the administrative side and making sure that we're moving Frederick County forward in a way that really supports all of our families, our small businesses, and that we are committed to making sure that everybody can find opportunities to thrive and really meet their full potential in our growing and exciting county.
Fantastic. Question number two. Under what circumstances should someone contact your office and how would they most effectively do so?
That's a really good question because one of the interesting things about local government, especially in a county like Frederick, is we have our county government, but we also have 12 municipalities that have their own local elected officials within their town or city. Obviously, the city of Frederick being the largest, but we also have Brunswick, Newmarket, Thurmont, Middletown, and many others. And so we often will get questions, concerns, ideas that really actually apply to the municipal government. And in cases like that, it's our job to connect those folks to the right contact person or resource within the municipal government. And then other times it is something that the county directly is responsible for. So one of the goals that I see us having is to help educate the public on that and connect them to the right resource, whether it's local or sometimes it's the state. It could be a road issue and it's actually a state highway, not a county road. So we want to make sure that we connect folks to the right person. What we don't want to do is leave people kind of out in the dust to just figure out who to contact themselves, because it can be really confusing when there's so many layers of government. So in order for us to make sure that we're doing that constituent service side well, we have a lot of ways that people can reach out. You can go onto our county website and you can right on the county website, put in questions or concerns. You can send emails to our constituent services. It's just constituent services at frederickcountymd.gov. But another great way that we have to get in touch that I really encourage people to do is actually an app that you can download called FCG Fix It. You can Sorry about that. I muted myself by
Oh,
accident.
you're good. You're
Get it
good.
in the App Store or wherever else you get apps for your phone. But it's FCG Fix It. And that is a really easy way to share a concern or a question or an inquiry. And if you use that app, you don't have to be the one to try to figure out which office to call or which department to email, because once you put it in the system, our folks will make sure it's routed to the correct person and that you can get a response. So that's a really great way to get your questions answered if you need to report an issue, whether in your neighborhood you just have a question about how to get a permit, you have a question about recycling, you have a question about a safety issue on a road near where you live, anything like that. You're able to put that in and we can get a response back to you in a timely manner.
Fantastic. Question number 3. How does what you do impact lives on a local level?
What we do in county government impacts lives every single hour of every single day. I don't think that the average resident really realizes how much of what they see and do every day is impacted by local government. So it's the things that we take for granted. When you flush your toilet and that waste is going down, that's our folks that are running our wastewater treatment plant and making sure that the pipes are working. When your trash is being picked up or your recycling is being picked up, that's our folks. You call 911, that's our employees that are answering the phone, and then it's our employees that are hopping on a fire truck or an ambulance to come to respond to an emergency. It's our folks that are out making sure that if there's snow, that roads are plowed, or that the in the summer that the roads are mowed along the sides, that there's clear signage for safety on our roads. So all of those basic things we kind of just take for granted every day. That's our county government and our employees and your tax dollars that are going towards making sure that we are living in a safe and welcoming place where everybody can do the things that they need to do every day. And we're always looking for ways to improve. So for example, one of the challenges that we have in Frederick County is transportation. And part of that is because we are the largest county in the state of Maryland by size, right? By acreage and land mass. And so we have a lot of rural parts of our county where public transportation, where our buses, it just isn't necessarily the right solution. But what we have done is we have expanded where it makes sense. So we've expanded some of our rural shuttles to include more daytime hours and weekend hours. We're looking to expand our Transit Plus, which is an appointment-based door-to-door transportation opportunity for folks who need transportation to, say, medical appointments or the grocery store. And we also do a really good job of partnering with our nonprofits and our private sector to look for other solutions. Something we announced recently is an expansion of our Ride United network, or RUN, which is through the United Way. And the county is actually using some of our funding to support a nonprofit called SOS Safe Ride, and they're expanding to add Rides for Good, which is a volunteer-based ride sharing system to really support seniors and also folks who live in more rural areas. So we're always looking for creative ways to partner and ways to sort of leverage government resources and the amazing resources we have in our community, in our philanthropic sector, our nonprofit sector, and our private sector. And I think that's something Frederick County does really well. So getting back to your original question, it touches things people do every day. Every time folks take their families to a story hour at the library, that is our folks doing, making sure that we have programming that is accessible to 0 to 100, right? So the things that we do every day really make a difference for folks in our community.
Great, great. Question number 4. What is the top priority for a county executive?
This is a great question. And to be honest, it's a challenge because there are so many priorities that we have and so many needs in our community. I have really worked to kind of thinking at the 30,000 foot level, in my first year, I've really worked to expand both internally within county government and also externally with all of our constituents, making sure that we are focusing on accountability, sustainability, and inclusion. And I use those words a lot, but I always like to say that those are words that people kind of toss around and can kind of just be buzzwords, but they really are not buzzwords to us here in county government. Accountability means that one, if we say we're going to do something, that we do it. And if we don't do it, we explain why. And that we're making sure that data, information, how decisions are made is transparent to the community so that folks feel like they have a voice, they understand the process, and they know how to find information. So, an example of that is when I came into office, I put together a transition team of over 100 members of the community, many of whom had never been asked to be involved in a government work group like that before, to help develop the priorities for the county. They did their job well. I tasked them to be bold and think big and kind of challenge the status quo a little bit. And after about 3 months, we had 64 recommendations to try to meet over the course of this first term. But what we did is we've actually published a dashboard on the county website that shows the progress that we're making on those recommendations. So people can actually see, is it in progress? Have we not started it yet? Is it completed? Or is it really something that's ongoing that's never really done, but we can show the work that we're doing to make progress. So actions like that, we always have more work to do to find new and different ways to communicate with people. But we're trying to really open those doors and make sure that we are giving the residents a way to hold us accountable and that we're holding ourselves accountable when we have big decisions to make and when we have tough conversations that we need to have. The second one, sustainability, obviously kind of has two meanings to me. One has to, of course, do with environmental sustainability, making sure we're doing our part to combat climate change, that we're taking true and meaningful steps as a county government, both internally with our own operations and externally with what we expect from the community to make sure that we are setting the next generation up for a world that they're going to be able to thrive in. But sustainability also has to do with fiscal responsibility and making sure that programs that we're implementing and resources that we're putting towards things that matter in our community are things that we can sustain, right? Things that we're able to make sure that continue into the future so that we can keep providing excellent service to the residents of Frederick County. And then in terms of inclusion, it really just comes down to our vision of From Livable Frederick, which is our master plan for what we want to see Frederick County look like in the future. And that is that Frederick County is a unique and vibrant community where everybody can feel a strong sense of place and belonging and work, live, and thrive here. And so that feeling that place of belonging, that feeling like everybody has access to opportunity to thrive is extremely important. And county government can't do all of that on its own, but we are responsible for playing our part to make sure that this is a welcoming and inclusive community and that we're holding our partners also accountable for that work as well. And I think the evidence is there because we are the fastest growing county in the state of Maryland. While other counties are seeing population decrease, we're seeing families and businesses want to bring folks here, to raise their families here, to invest in their businesses here. And that's a sign that we're moving in the right direction.
Great. Question number 5. What made you want to run for this position?
So I didn't do a great job of introducing myself at the beginning, but this gives me a chance to do that. So my background is actually in education. So I I started playing music at a very young age and also had one of my parents, my mother, who is a special education teacher. And so it was not a surprise to very many folks when I decided in high school that I wanted to be a music teacher. So that is what I went to college for. And as soon as I finished, I got my first teaching job here in Frederick County and never left. So I taught elementary general music for over 17 years here in Frederick County Public Schools. And very quickly, got really involved in my local teachers association, going to state and national conferences to learn more about education policy. And anybody who either has been an educator or has an educator in their family, you learn really quickly that it's a highly politicized profession. Everything about our jobs is decided by somebody elected at some level of office, whether it's your local school board all the way up to Congress. And whether it's about funding, whether it's about the quality of your school buildings, whether it's about curriculum, the size of your classes, all of that is decided by local or state or federal elected officials. So I started showing up at Board of Ed meetings. I started going to Annapolis to lobby our delegates about better funding and better opportunities for public education. And I realized that we don't have a lot of educators in elected office, but we have people making major decisions that impact our students every day without an understanding of what their decisions are doing to our students. And that's what kind of led me on this path. I decided to get more involved in some leadership opportunities, learn more about how the political side of things work. And when I first ran in 2014 for the county council, prior to that, we had an administration that was completely underinvesting in our public schools, cutting programs like Head Start and other programs that support working families. And it was a really tough environment. And I really felt like we needed an educator there to help tell that side of the story and advocate for our students, which really are the absolute best investment that we can make. So that's how I kind of went down this path. I was on the county council for 8 years, focusing on, of course, supporting budgets that invested in public education and public safety and protecting our environment and social justice and opportunity, but also crafting legislation around affordable housing, around some of those areas of being an inclusive community, like strengthening our anti-discrimination laws. I focused on a lot of environmental protections, including a resolution to create a climate change working group and setting greenhouse gas reduction goals for the county. So I learned a lot based on my legislative track record and did not want to see the progress of our previous county executive and council go out the window, and decided to run for county executive to just keep up the work and keep including the community along the way so we can make sure that Frederick County stays the best county in the state of Maryland.
Last question / question number 6. What do you believe is the importance of the local government?
Well, I'm here because I really think local government is where it's at. We don't go to Annapolis just for a few months of the year and have a very, intense focused legislative session. We're not driving down the road or in some other states flying into, to the Capitol to legislate far away from our community. We live in the community. I'm a mom. My son goes to North Frederick Elementary School. My daughter will be there next year. I work in the community. I drive on these roads. And I think that makes a really big difference when your elected officials are in the community where you are. You see them every day. It's an opportunity to connect to people. And the decisions that we make are felt by our residents, I think, more quickly and sometimes more intensely than decisions that are made at higher levels of government. And on the flip side, for our residents, you can actually have such an outsized impact on your local government simply just by asking questions and showing up. If we, for example, have a public hearing on a new piece of legislation or on the budget where your tax dollars are going to go, if only 5 people show up to the public hearing, you're one of 5, and there's a pretty big chance that your voice is going to have an impact on one of the decision makers that's there listening to you. As elected officials, we only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. So it's on us to ask questions, to get out into the community, but it also shows that the feedback, the comments, the questions, and the priorities of our residents can really have a very big impact on the decisions that we make. And if we're doing our jobs correctly, they should have a big impact on the decisions that we're making. One of the things that I implemented last year, my first year, and that we're doing again this year, is actually taking our budget public hearings out on the road and not just doing them here at Winchester Hall in our county seat building, but we are doing a budget listening session in every council district. And they're all actually coming up this month in the month of January, and one in February. So I will make sure that we send you all the dates, and you can include that maybe in your podcast here, so that you can share that. But there will be 2 in the city of Frederick, 1 in Middletown, 1 in Newmarket, and 1 in Walkersville, so that wherever you live in the county, you have that access to be able to be there. We have opportunities to leave comments online if you just want to watch at home, or watch it later and leave us a comment about your budget priority. So we try to have a lot of different ways that people can share what their priorities are, because the budget is one of the biggest jobs of the county executive and the county as a whole. And that budget really should reflect what the priorities of the residents are. It's your tax dollars, and we need to make sure that we're spending them responsibly and also investing them in places that the community really wants to see that investment.
Great job. Great job. I'll give you some applause up front. Thank you so much for taking of your time. We know that you're very busy and that you're very important. I mean, not as important as me, but yeah.
We're all important. We're all important. And this is a pleasure. And I also just want to commend you for taking the time to ask these great questions and to help spread the word about how important it is to pay attention to what's happening in local government, and to make sure that you're find ways to make sure that your voices are heard.
Yeah, there's no dispute there. I won't dispute any of that. But no, but thank you so much for giving up your time. Oh, go ahead.
And Aji, the other thing I'm going to send you is, and one other way for your listeners to get involved. At the county, we have a lot of boards and commissions that focus on different issues in the county. And there's really almost something for everyone, depending on what your interest is. So, for example, we have a commission for women. We have a commission on disabilities. We have the Agricultural Business Council. We have the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. We have our Human Relations Commission. So many different areas where members of the community can be appointed into these positions, and then really help to shape the direction that the county is taking on these different issues. Often these commissions are making recommendations for new legislation. They might be making comment on budget priorities, or bringing issues forward to the county that maybe we didn't see that they think need to be remedied, whether it's a policy or something legislative. And so it's a really great opportunity to get back to the community, but also to kind of dip your toe into county government a little bit, and sort of have that experience. So I will make sure that I send you that information as well, that you can share out, because we're always looking to get more and different and new people involved in that way as well.
That's fantastic. That's great. Well, everybody, go ahead. You have one more thing?
Nope, that's it. I just want to say thanks again.
Oh yeah, no problem. So for everybody watching, thank you for watching. You know where to find us. You can go to www.blackadvancement.com, or you can catch us at our YouTube page or any of the other ones on social. With all that being said, peace and advance.